Hello, my name's Lindsay and I am part of the clergy team here in Portishead. The news that our late Queen was under medical supervision at Balmoral filtered through to me as I attended a training on how to write theological reflection. Theological reflection requires a prayerful, open heart that gives us a glimpse of God's work through the fog of everyday life. Reflecting in this way not only gives us a glimpse of God's presence in the world, but through the process of reflection, we can often see and hear things we have never seen before. The last 2 weeks have at times felt far removed from the normal everyday life. There have been so many ways in which people have expressed and shown their respect for the love of our late Queen Elizabeth. Our churches have been open for people to light candles, pray and sign a book of condolence, comforting all those who grieve. There have been some extraordinary moments, and it has been at times hard to ignore the presence of God in our world, as faith has become a talking point across much of the media. Of the many thousands of stories shared over the last few weeks, the one that has touched my heart the most was telling of the bees. This story told how the royal beekeeper takes on the task after a monarch has passed of donning his white suit, hat and veil, travelling to each beehive on the royal estate. He then ties a black bow on the Queen's beehives and informs the bees that their mistress, the Queen, is dead. He urges the bees to be good to the new ruler, the King, to remain in the hive, to continue their work, to produce honey until death claims them. He then offers the bees a prayer, trusting that his words will be passed from bee to bee to bee 1,000,000 times over. When I first read this story, it seemed telling the bees was another strange English tradition that was upheld at the death of a monarch. But with a little bit of research, it became apparent that telling the bees is not a wacky tradition that is exclusive for royalty. Instead, it is a tradition upheld by beekeepers which date back as early as the 1800s. This extraordinary tradition shows compassion and reverence for tradition and nature. Many Christian leaders for centuries have been fascinated by bees and looked upon them with reverence and wonderment. The wonderment in how a bee is sent out from the hive to find beauty, to bring it back to the hive and transform it into something sweet and beautiful. Wonderment in knowing that according to all the laws of aerodynamics, there is no way that a bee should be able to fly, let alone carry twice her body weight in flower nectar, and take that flower nectar, ripen it into honey, and then somehow miraculously turn it into beeswax. A worker bee produces about an eighth of my little pinky finger's nail of beeswax in her lifetime. So a little slab of beeswax like this, for instance, is literally the work of around 3,000 female worker bees. We therefore must see it as an enormous privilege to create light from this extraordinary material from nature, to find the beauty in the ordinary and make it our life's work to bring the light of Christ in the world. So are there places in your life where you get the opportunity to be the bee, to find something beautiful and transform it into light?